Hello, dear future IAS, IPS aspirants. I know you all are getting started on this beautiful journey of yours to realize this big dream that you've had. Now, I am standing before you to give you a small insight into a major subject that will guide you in this process. Not only as a subject, but even as a philosophy, as a thought, this subject is going to be so helpful for you in your entire process of your UPSC journey. Hi, I am Sneha Ramesh, and I would be guiding you through this brief session on the topic of environment. Now, I want to start by saying this very beautiful or reiterating this very beautiful quote by a prominent person called as Lady Bird Johnson. The environment is where we all meet, where we all have a mutual interest. It is the one thing that all of us share. Take a moment and think about it. It is the single most important entity that binds all of us. We might come from different backgrounds, urban, rural, different districts, language, religion, whatever be it, different genders, different ideas, different thoughts. But due to the very nature of existing on the world, the environment is one thing that binds all of us. So think about it on a larger scale, not only as a civil servant, but even as a human being. The importance of environment in all of our lives and the need to preserve environment is extremely high. Now, if I had to talk about this subject and give you a brief insight into it, there are two aspects, both as a subject and as a philosophy. But I know very well that you all new UPSC aspirants who are just brimming with the energy would want to know about the subject first. So let's have an insight into the subject. Environment as a subject, when you look at it, has very crucial parts, both in your prelims, mains, and at times even in your environment part. So as a subject, this is one thing where you study once, you spend maybe around 28 hours to sit and study this at once, and then you just start off with your current affairs. But the impact of it is seen in 3 stages of your preparation. Just guide you through what are these stages. So first thing, if you look at the prelims syllabus that is being given, it is being mentioned that environment as a subject will deal with general issues on environment, ecology, biodiversity, and climate change. Now, for those new aspirants out there, I would tell you, this is very specific, as in you just have to look at environment, ecology, biodiversity, and climate change. But at the same time, because these 3 topics are extremely large, this is where a lot of students falter. They are like, okay, we need to prepare for prelims, but then we do not know where do we have to study our environment from. So this is your prelims part. Now coming to the mains part, in the syllabus of environment, they've mentioned conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, environmental impact assessment. Now, contrary to the prelim syllabus, here they are a little bit more specific, like environmental impact assessment, degradation, pollution, etc. But again, the importance over here comes into understanding that it might be your prelim syllabus, it might be your main syllabus, but at the end of the day, when you sit and study environment, you have to combine all of this. You have to study this subject in an integrated manner. Because come on, when something is affecting your ecology, the root cause would be maybe in the pollution part of it. So how can you separate your prelim syllabus and your main syllabus? These are not going to be things that you can just put into different compartments. That doesn't end there. Most of the students do not notice this part. But let me take you on in a little bit secret over here. Environment does not end with just your GS3 syllabus over here. In your ethics paper, there is a component called as dimensions of ethics. And think about all the dimensions possible. And the first thing that will come into your mind is the one thing that we all share in common. And that is environment. time and again, UPSC has been slowly sneaking in questions about your environmental ethics as to how in certain scenarios we will have to act. Certain case studies, for examples, let you in on one right now, wherein a question was asked, you are the SDM of a certain place, there has to be a dam coming up, but then a lot of villages going to get destroyed. What will you do? Both are important over here. The people, where the dam comes, there's going to be electricity, there's going to be jobs over here. But at the same time, people are going to get affected. People have to be rehabilitated. People will lose their homes. What will you do? Come on. Think about it. You can take a moment and maybe think about it as to how we will have to deal with it on an environmentally ethical question. So, as a subject, this is all the different areas that we have. And especially now, since I've mentioned prelims and mains perspective, from the prelims perspective, I'll just walk you in a little bit, because for a lot of students, I have not understood as to the reason why, because environment, if you break it down into simple components and try to understand it, understand the basics of these subjects, follow the current affairs, it's one subject area where you can actually have a good percentage of accuracy. But from the prelims perspective, over the last 4-5 years, students find the subject to be extremely difficult. So much so that this subject has become the game changer subject. When I'm saying the game changer subject, it'll become the difference between you passing that paper and you not passing that paper. Your history and your polity and everything you will be studying, you will have basic questions coming in from it, theoretical questions coming in from it. But environment, because of the large number of questions, very recently, if you look at it, the different trends which are there, we have up to, if you look at the trend of questions from 2018 to 2022, the number has gone up from 11 to the highest being 25 to a range of 19. So I would tell you, you can expect somewhere around 18 to 20 questions on a good day. Okay, so 18 to 20 questions means this has become the game changer subject in prelims. Next thing, the reason why it has happened so much, or there's a prominence of this, is because, as you know, the Indian Forest Service prelims also happens. It is the same exam which is there for your prelims. So, which means that even to weed out aspirants or select aspirants which are suited for IFOS, you need to have questions which are a little bit more focused on IFOS subjects like agriculture, forestry, environment, etc. This is also the reason why agriculture related questions are coming up a lot in your UPSC. So again, my pointer would be, just have a look through all the subjects which are there in the IFOS. You don't have to sit and study all the subjects, but understand, if UPSC wants to venture into a new area, it would probably be from a subject in the IFOS list. Now, with all this being said, and the trend that you see over here, it comes without doubt that your UPSC has a much more open love affair with this particular subject. Now coming into mains, you might think it's over at prelims, but no. When it comes to mains, compared to your other subjects which are there, where UPSC convolutes questions, asks a statement and asks to explain, and all those different modes which are there, the environment questions are pretty much direct. Like, they would just ask you, what is the Biological Diversity Act? Explain the provisions of the Biological Diversity Act and tell as to how that has impacted the biological diversity in the country. Let me tell you, from a UPSC aspect, this is a fairly direct way of asking questions. So, from the prelims, if there is almost 20 questions from wide range of difficulty, where you will have almost 7 to 8 questions in the easy category in the prelims and rest in maybe in the moderate to higher difficult level. In the mains perspective, you have relatively direct questions based on theory. Even in the occasional aspect of venturing into current affairs also, what they try to do is, they try to take a current affair that is fairly known to all of us. For example, it's not an environment topic, but then there's an overlap topic. There was a question on cryosphere a few years back. The source of that question is the current affairs, that there is the melting of ice happening in the cryosphere. Now, this is something that we knew, and it's a direct takeaway from the current affair. Unlike certain questions of polity or economy, where the current affair might happen, but the question framed on it will require you to have extensive subject knowledge, which is there. So from the mains perspective and the prelims perspective, we've briefly seen onto the subject. Obviously, when we have more time and when you all come in as students, I'm going to see more of you and I'll be explaining more of this in detail, but you have a few ideas right now. Now, what happens with students when it comes to the subject of environment is, and this is very clear because I've seen so many students over the past years, one major issue is the fact that they do not, or they have a problem relating to the lack of foundation of the subject. Most of the times when I would teach you terms like ecology, environment, I would start off from the basics, which means that even in the middle of the sleep, when I'm asking you, okay, what is ecology or what is environment, you will have an understanding of this. But a lot of times, students just learn by heart the definitions which are there in a thesaurus or an Oxford dictionary. Like environment is the surroundings, or that is there, this is there. So they would study it in that manner, thereby not having a clear foundation. Now, the problem when you don't have a clear foundation is because in the prelims, the question might be very simple. They might ask which of these terms relate to environment, and they would give 4 definitions down. If you don't have subject clarity, you will not be able to figure out the one that is there, because UPSC will make it a point that they will ask it in a convoluted, very, confusing statement which is there. The next point is the information with respect to environment is so vast that I would call it, it's basically a rabbit hole of information. Rabbit hole in the sense that you start looking at one term, then you have to go and look at the context of it, then you will go and look at the convention of it, which means you will not know where to stop. That is a problem, because in that aspect, you will end up studying all the information which is there, and that is fine if you are planning to give almost 6-7 years of your time for UPSC preparation. But that is not our aim. We need to pass in the first attempt itself. We need to get it done in this particular year itself. In that case, you going down this entire rabbit hole of information is not ideal. Then coming into a non-selective approach followed by students. Students study all the current affairs in mains perspective. I've seen that happen. Or they study all of it in a prelims perspective. But you have to have clarity on some current affairs being studied for prelims and some kind being studied for mains. Now, these are all the problem areas that students normally face. And how do you get over it? And you get over it, and again, it's not me pitching the program over here, but then being a faculty over here, I can clearly tell you the way we deal with subjects over here is having a clear prelims and mains perspective. And we will not separate this and put it into compartments. We will take it into an integrated manner. The classes that we provide over here in the Baba's Gurukul program would deal comprehensively with respect to each exam. So if it's prelims oriented information that you will need, we will be dividing the class into a prelims and mains perspective. And in the prelims perspective, what all areas you have to focus, we'll be clearly telling you. You will not go down a rabbit hole of information, because you will have expert faculties coming and telling you where to stop. You don't have to go and deal with this entire thing. So in this aspect, we have several analyze, learn, perform aspects, prelims revision handouts. Right now, this is happening for the batch, ongoing batch, where the entire revision is made so simple for them. They don't have to sit for days and days and sit and study. Your entire environment will get over in 11 hours. Now, the environment will get over in 11 or 12 hours. Once when you've attended the classes in a detailed manner and you can understand things with clarity. So this is all part of the Gurukul program. I hope to see all of you in this program, because I would love to teach you and get across the concepts of environment into your minds. Now, With that, let me just tell you this beautiful quote that has constantly inspired me in my UPSC journey. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I do not know how many of you felt this, but in a very simple act of helping another person is where you realize, okay, I am this kind of a person. I have empathy in me. I am compassionate to other living beings. Now, I'm saying this in this context because in your entire UPSC journey, the one thing that is going to be constant for you is this motivation that you need as to why am I even studying? Why am I? Because you're going to face so many difficulties, and sometimes you will start questioning yourself, like, why am I even doing all of this? And at that point, I want you to keep this in mind, that you are doing this to find yourself. And to find yourself, you have to help others. You have to be in service of others. This is said by none other than the great Mahatma Gandhi. And I want you to keep this quote in your mind every single time you falter and you feel depressed. Okay. And in this particular context, I again want to urge you, this entire concept of being in the service of others becomes ever so crucial in the aspect of environment also, where you are compassionate, where you're caring for the nature around you. And thus that helps you to understand what you are as a human being. So I hope to see all of you dear aspiring students who want to embark on this UPSC journey in my classes. I hope to see you for the Baba's Gurukul program. Until then, take care and happy learning.